Chapter number 5. The Indian Judiciary. In the last chapter, we discussed about the rule of law. That is, everyone is equal in the eyes of law, irrespective of caste, color, creed, or gender. Whenever there is a violation of law, the judicial system, that is, the third organ of the Indian government, resolves the issue. The judiciary consists of a system of courts that is responsible for administering justice, interpreting laws, and protecting the fundamental rights of the citizens. The judiciary, that is also the custodian of our constitution, plays a very important role in proper running of the democratic system. Role of the judiciary. The judiciary reconciles disagreement between citizens, between the government and citizens, between two state governments, and between the centre and the state governments. The judiciary is the final authority on the constitution and can declare any law passed by the parliament to be unconstitutional if it goes against the basic ideals of the constitution. This is called judicial review. The judiciary upholds and implements the fundamental rights of the citizens. Thus, people can move the court in case of violation of their rights. Independence of judiciary. The farmers of the Constitution ensured independence of judiciary in following ways. The most important provision in the Constitution is the separation of power. That is, legislature and executive cannot interfere in the work of the judiciary. Similarly, in the appointment of judges, the other organs of the state do not play any significant role. Moreover, the removal of judges from their office is a complex process, so neither the legislature nor the executive can misuse their power and influence the judicial process. Not only are the appointments made for a fixed tenure, but judges also get handsome remuneration so that financial inducements do not influence their official decisions. The government also takes care of their security so that any powerful criminal does not intimidate them. Structure of courts in India. India has a single unified judicial system with the Supreme Court as the apex court. The decisions of the higher courts are binding on the lower courts. Both the Supreme Court and the High Court are courts of records. That is, verdicts passed are documented. As and when required, these rulings are cited as instances in dispensing justice. Besides the district court and district and session courts, there are revenue courts that are responsible for accessing and collecting land revenue. The Board of Revenue is the highest revenue court under the control of the High Court, while at the district level, it is the court of the collector. Panchayat courts deal with petty criminal and civil cases at the village level and are often referred to as Nyay Panchayat or Gram Kachhari. Normally, 3 or 4 villages have one Panchayat court and people can appeal against its decision in higher courts. Jurisdiction. Jurisdiction implies the extent of legal authority that courts can exercise. Courts exercise different kinds of jurisdiction. Original jurisdiction is relevant in cases that can be brought up only in a particular court and not any other. The Supreme Court exercises original jurisdiction over flowing cases. Dispute between states or between centre and one or more states. Cases involving violation of constitution by government or any of its agencies or any individual. It can issue writs, that is, a legal document issued by the court directing a person to do or not to do something, for upholding and enforcing the fundamental rights granted by the Constitution. The High Court exercises original jurisdiction over following cases: cases involving violation of fundamental rights and those involving disagreement over matter related to state elections. Appellate jurisdiction implies appealing against ruling of lower courts in higher courts. The Supreme Court exercises appellate jurisdiction over following cases: petition filed against decision of High Court in civil and criminal cases. Cases where the High Court itself confirms that it entails an important point of law and calls for interpretation of the Constitution. Cases where High Court charges decision of lower court and awards death penalty in criminal cases. The High Court exercises appellate jurisdiction over criminal and civil suits filed in appeal against decisions of lower courts. Advisory jurisdiction, when the court gives advice on certain matters. The Supreme Court advises the President on constitutional issues. However, the President is not bound to follow the advice of the Supreme Court. Supervisory jurisdiction, when court oversees the functioning of lower courts. For instance, high courts administer the work of all subordinate courts. The Judiciary of India, Supreme Court, the highest court of the country, headed by the Chief Justice of India, appointed by the President. Assisted by 30 judges, appointed by the President in consultation with the Chief Justice. Judges retire at the age of 65, however, can be removed by the Parliament on grounds of misuse of power or misconduct. Has power of judicial review. High Court, the highest court in the state, headed by the Chief Justice, who is appointed by the President in consultation with the Chief Justice of India and the government of the state. Other judges appointed by the President in consultation with the Chief Justice of India, the Governor of the state and the Chief Justice of High Court. Judges retire at the age of 62 and can be impeached in the same way as the judges of the Supreme Court. Controls and supervises the work of subordinate courts. Tries both civil and criminal cases as well as reviews judgment of subordinate courts. Subordinate District Court hears civil and criminal cases at the district or tehsil level. Presides over by District Judge. District Court, highest civil court in a district, hears cases related to money, property, will, marriage, divorce, guardianship, etc. Hears plea against judgment of lower courts. Session Court, highest criminal court in the district, tries cases related to theft, murder, robbery, etc. Hears appeal against judgment of lower courts. Different branches of the legal system. There are two types of cases, civil and criminal. Civil cases usually involve conflict between people or institutions on issues such as breach of contract, property dispute, dispute between property owner and tenant, divorce, and even minor accidents. In such cases, the aggrieved party files a case in the court and the decision involves granting of certain respite to the victorious party. Criminal cases involve gross violation of law that include theft, murder, fraud, harassment, forgery, molestation, drunken driving, etc. In criminal cases, initially a first information report, that is FIR, is lodged with police, who then probe the crime and ultimately a case is filed in the court. If the accused is found to be guilty, sentence varies from simple fine to death sentence. Access to the courts. Ideally, all citizens of the country can approach the court for redressal of his or her grievances. In case of violation of fundamental rights, citizens of the country can seek justice from the court. However, in reality, the situation is different. Majority of the population is extremely poor, leads a hand-to-mouth existence, and most importantly, is uneducated. They neither have the means no time to get involved in lengthy legal proceedings. Lack of education further adds to their misery. Public interest litigation. The Supreme Court in early 1980s evolved a system of public interest litigation, that is PIL, so that maximum population can have access to justice. Any individual or organization can move the High Court or Supreme Court in the interest of public cause. Litigation involves a system of filing or defending a claim in the court. However, unlike other litigations, the aggrieved party need not necessarily file PIL. Anybody acting in public interest can do so. The legal procedure has been simplified to the extent that even a letter or telegram explaining particulars of the case addresses to the High Court or the Supreme Court is treated as PIL. You will be surprised to know that the concept of midday meal in government and government-aided schools started because of the filing of PIL. In the year 2001, in drought-affected Rajasthan and Odisha, millions faced scarcity of food, but government godowns were spilling over. In such a situation, an organization, People's Union of Civil Liberties, that is PUCL, filed a PIL in the Supreme Court for enforcement of right to food guaranteed under fundamental rights, right to life, in our Constitution. They pointed out that it was sheer apathy on part of state governments, where tons of grains were rotting in government godowns, millions were dying out of starvation in the country. After hearing, the Supreme Court ordered the government to generate more employment opportunities, give food at cheaper prices through ration shops, and provide food to children in the schools. Court judgments. At times, certain sections of the society feel that court judgments do not take into consideration the interest of certain people. For example, critics of Narmada Valley Development Project feel that in the name of development, its planning is unjust as it will displace large number of people in Gujarat, Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh and inundate thousands of acres of forest and agricultural land. At times, over a period, court's view of a situation also undergoes change. For instance, in Ogla Telis versus Bombay Municipal Corporation case 1985, court held that right to livelihood is part of right to life conferred by Article 21 of our Constitution. It stated that expulsion of pavement dwellers would lead them to lose their means of livelihood and eventually deprive them of life. However, in some later cases, they were seen as encroachers of public land and court ordered their eviction along with demolition of their illegal houses. Another issue that adds to a common person's distress is the issue of the long years court take in dispensing justice. The phrase, justice delayed is justice denied, is frequently used to describe this extended time that courts take to grant justice. In order to grant inexpensive and speedy justice, a system of Lok Adalats was set up in India. Lok Adalats. Lok Adalats or People's Court are inexpensive as well as resolve disputes in a single hearing. They have proved to be valuable not only for the underprivileged but have also lightened the burden of the courts. As a result, there has been a decline in number of pending cases. A retired judge generally chairs the Lok Adalat, while a lawyer and a social worker assist him or her. The disputing parties themselves put forward their case that are resolved through mutual understanding. There is no option of plea against the decision of Lok Adalat.